So if you have a pain in your head, it's a headache. Pain in your stomach, a stomach ache, backache, toothache. It's one of the most reliable, straightforward rules in the English language.
Yeah, you just snap the word ache onto the body part, and you're pretty much done.
Right, exactly, like a little linguistic Lego piece. But then, why is it that when your throat feels like it is quite literally on fire, it's suddenly a sore throat? Like, why on earth isn't it a throat ache?
Well, that is a brilliant question, and it actually reveals something super fascinating about how the English language categorizes physical suffering.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just some random grammar exception designed to frustrate learners. There's actually a hidden anatomical logic to the words native speakers use to describe pain.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We are putting together an everyday English survival guide, and this is specifically tailored for those of you listening who are at the intermediate level.
Right, the ones who already have the basics down.
Exactly. Like, maybe you already know how to order a coffee or, ask for directions without breaking a sweat. But when your health is on the line, the stakes are just astronomically higher.
Oh, absolutely.
You really need to be precise. So our mission today is to explore the vocabulary of health, fitness, and general well-being. By the end of this conversation, you'll know exactly how to describe your body's physical sensations, navigate a medical clinic, and talk about your gym habits without sounding like you're just reading from a textbook.
Because mastering this specific language is fundamentally about self-advocacy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's about taking control of your personal well-being, ensuring you are accurately understood when it matters most. Whether you're speaking to a doctor, a personal trainer, or just explaining to a friend why you have to cancel dinner plans.
Which happens to the best of us. So let's get back to that little linguistic mystery from the intro, the throat ache. What is the actual underlying difference between an ache and something being sore?
It basically comes down to the mechanical nature of the pain itself. So an ache implies a dull, continuous internal pain.
Okay.
It's this throbbing sensation that radiates outward even when you are completely still and not doing anything at all. I mean, think of a headache or a toothache. The pain is just sitting there independently malfunctioning on the inside.
Right. So it's like a check engine light in your car that just stays illuminated on the dashboard no matter what you do.
Precisely. The system is just flagging an internal error, but sore is entirely conditional.
Conditional how?
Well, we use sore for a body part that is primarily sensitive when you actively use it or when there's surface-level friction.
Oh, I see.
Think about your throat. Your throat mostly hurts when you actively swallow. Or consider your muscles after a really heavy workout. You don't say you have a muscle ache.
Right, you say you have sore muscles.
Exactly, because the pain is triggered when you try to move them. It's mechanical friction, and that is why it is a sore throat.
Wow, that totally changes the way I think about vocabulary. It's not just rote memorization of these annoying exceptions. You are actually describing the physics of the pain. Internal malfunction versus mechanical friction.
It really is. And maintaining that level of precision is vital when you start layering on other symptoms, right? Particularly the ones that make you feel entirely incapacitated.
Yeah, like what?
Take the feeling of the room spinning versus feeling like you might vomit.
Oh, dizzy versus nauseous.
Right.
People use these interchangeably all the time in casual conversation, especially when they just feel generally terrible, but they represent entirely different biological systems failing, don't they?
They do. Dizzy is a failure of your equilibrium. It's your vestibular system and your inner ear just throwing its hands in the air.
Like, I quit.
Exactly. The room is spinning, you lose your spatial awareness, and you might actually fall over. Nauseous, on the other hand, is strictly gastrointestinal. It's that distinct, really unsettling feeling in your stomach that you are going to be sick. You can absolutely be dizzy without being nauseous, and vice versa.
Which brings us to the ultimate conversational mix-up, I think. A cold versus the flu.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
In everyday chat, someone might sneeze twice, grab a tissue, and dramatically complain that they have the flu. But medically, confusing those two when speaking to a professional can lead to a serious breakdown in communication, right?
It's a critical distinction.
Yeah.
Because a cold is a localized upper respiratory issue. You sneeze, you cough, your nose runs. It's undeniably annoying, but you can usually push through your day.
You can still go to work even if you're miserable.
Right. But the flu influenza is a systemic, full-body shutdown. It almost always comes with a high fever, which is a measurable, dangerous spike in body temperature.
Oh, wow.
And it brings those deep, continuous body aches we just talked about.
So if you tell a doctor you just have a cold because, I don't know, you simply don't know the word flu or you think they're synonyms, they might completely underestimate how sick you really are. You might just get handed a cough drop instead of receiving actual medical intervention.
Which forces us right into the next phase of this journey. Identifying the symptom naturally demands that you seek a cure.
Right. You have to do something about it.
You have to take this nuanced vocabulary into the high-stakes environment of a medical clinic. You need to see a GP.
The general practitioner.
Yeah.
The gatekeeper of the medical system. The detective who figures out what's wrong before sending you to a specialist.
And simply getting access to that detective requires navigating some really interesting cultural phrasing.
What do you mean?
Well, you don't usually call a clinic and bluntly say, I want an appointment right now. Native speakers will often call and politely ask, do you have any openings this afternoon?
I have always loved the spatial metaphor of the word openings. It treats the doctor's schedule like this solid, impenetrable brick wall, and you're just hoping there is one tiny gap, one missing brick, where the receptionist can squeeze you in.
It perfectly captures the anxiety of trying to access healthcare at the last minute, doesn't it?
It really does.
But once you secure that opening, you find yourself sitting on the crinkly paper of the examination table, and the doctor walks in. The classic, almost cinematic prompt they use is, what seems to be the problem?
It always makes the doctor sound like an investigator arriving at a chaotic scene.
Right.
They have their notepad ready to gather the clues. And this is exactly where intermediate English learners often make a massive strategic mistake in how they answer. The instinct is to try and sound advanced and sophisticated.
Which usually leads to self-diagnosis.
Right. You want to sound like an intelligent adult. So instead of pointing to your chest and saying, it hurts when I breathe deeply, which, I don't know, feels a bit simplistic or childish, you might say, Doctor, I believe I have contracted severe bronchitis.
You try to do their job for them?
Exactly. But shouldn't an adult just name the disease they think they have?
Medical professionals universally dislike that approach.
Really?
Oh, yeah. When you walk in and confidently state, I have bronchitis, you aren't providing evidence. You're planting a bias in their investigation.
Oh, that makes sense.
You might be completely wrong about the illness, but you've anchored their thought process to your incorrect assumption.
You are tampering with the crime scene.
You really are. They need actionable, mechanical data. Phrasing like, it hurts when I breathe deeply, or I've been feeling incredibly tired lately, isolates the failure in the body.
I see.
It tells the doctor exactly what action triggers the pain. They want the raw symptoms, not your grand conclusion.
You know, that is actually incredibly freeing for an English learner. It removes so much pressure.
How so?
Well, you don't need to memorize complex, multisyllabic medical diagnoses to communicate effectively. You just need to accurately describe the physical action that causes the pain. It hurts when I swallow. I feel dizzy when I stand up. That simple mechanical description is actually the preferred medical language.
Because that mechanical language is exactly what leads the doctor to the correct solution, and that solution culminates in the prescription.
Ah, the golden ticket.
Exactly. That is the official authorization, whether it's a piece of paper or an electronic message to a pharmacy, that allows you to obtain restricted medication. And usually, the doctor pairs that prescription with the most universal, timeless advice in human history.
Get plenty of rest and drink lots of water.
The magic cure-all.
It really is. But, you know, that simple instruction, rest and water, sparks a massive shift in how we talk about health in modern English. The doctor is giving you tools to fix an acute, immediate illness. But modern culture has taken those exact same tools, diet, exercise, and lifestyle, and turned them into a proactive obsession.
Right. We transition from reactive medicine to preventative maintenance.
We step out of the clinic and enter the gym.
Exactly. And the vocabulary shifts completely.
It does. If you look at how native speakers casually talk about the gym, it's essentially a video game skill tree.
I like that framing.
You're basically building a human character from scratch.
So how does this skill tree break down in conversational English?
Well, you have to choose which attributes you want to level up. If you want stamina and endurance, you put your points into the cardio path.
Oh, okay.
That is, you're running on the treadmill, you're cycling, you're swimming. It's all about keeping the heart rate elevated for long periods. But if you want raw power, you go down the strength training route.
Right.
You hit the weights, the dumbbells, you build muscle mass. And if you need agility and mobility, you select the yoga or Pilates path for flexibility and balance.
And the language around these skill trees has its own unique internal logic, too. You don't just do strength training. In casual English, you hit the weights, you get your cardio in.
Yeah, that's so true.
Exercise is spoken about as a daily requirement, almost like punching a clock at a second job.
The whole culture around it is highly structured and ritualized. You don't just jump right into the heavy lifting. You have the warm-up to prep the cardiovascular system and the cool-down to safely bring the heart rate back to a resting baseline.
Yep.
And of course, to access this real-life training ground, you're locked into the infamous gym membership.
But physical exertion is only half of that preventative equation. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the physical output you produce in the gym demands incredibly specific metabolic input.
So they go hand in hand.
Exactly. Exercise and diet are two sides of the exact same coin.
Ah, the kitchen vocabulary. Now, we all know the absolute basics, right? Eating a balanced diet, incorporating vegetables, choosing lean protein. We know we're supposed to avoid junk food like chips and soda.
Right, the fundamentals.
But the way native speakers talk about nutrition has become intensely analytical. Pick the word hydration.
That is a perfect example of a cultural linguistic shift. A few decades ago, people just drank water when they felt thirsty. Now, staying hydrated is a cultural mandate.
It sounds so clinical and medical.
Yeah.
Hydration. It takes a basic, involuntary biological function and turns it into a metric you have to actively track.
It really does.
People carry around massive, colorful water bottles with hourly time markers printed on them, treating their water intake like a strict daily assignment they have to grade themselves on.
It is the medicalization of everyday life. And you see the exact same linguistic phenomenon with the phrase counting calories. A calorie is simply a scientific unit of energy, but counting them transforms eating from an intuitive biological experience into a literal accounting process.
We are running a profit and loss statement on our own digestion.
You're nuts.
We measure the energy intake from our vitamins and meals, we track the caloric output on the treadmill screen, and we try to balance the spreadsheet at the end of the day. We're treating our bodies like high-performance sports cars. We check the fuel, we measure the exhaust, we do the daily maintenance.
Which is highly effective for physical longevity, don't get me wrong, but it introduces a critical vulnerability that is often ignored.
What's that?
You can have the perfect diet, the perfect cardio routine, and immaculate hydration. But if the central control center is failing, all that physical maintenance is completely irrelevant.
Oh, you were referring to the invisible health.
Yeah.
Mental well-being. We push the physical engine so hard, measuring every calorie and every single step on our smartwatches, that we inevitably hit a psychological wall.
And the vocabulary required to navigate mental well-being is just as nuanced as the difference between an ache and a sore throat. We often use broad terms like stress to describe the daily friction of life, the pressure from work, the upcoming deadlines, the traffic.
But there is one word in modern English that gets thrown around constantly, and I want to challenge how casually we use it: burnout.
Okay, let's look at burnout.
I hear people say it all the time. Oh, I had to be on 3 long Zoom calls today. I'm so burnt out. It feels like it has just become a trendy, dramatic buzzword for being slightly tired of working. Is burnout really a distinct medical state, or is it just modern complaining?
It is absolutely a distinct physiological state, and minimizing it as a mere buzzword is actually quite dangerous.
Oh, really?
Yeah, let's look closely at the metaphor itself, burnout. In thermodynamics, a fire requires fuel. When the fuel is entirely consumed, the fire extinguishes. It cannot burn anymore no matter how much oxygen you pump into the room.
Because there's literally nothing left to consume.
Exactly. When you are just tired from a long, demanding day, your battery is simply low. You go to sleep, you experience good sleep quality, and you wake up the next morning recharged.
So sleep fixes tiredness.
Right. But burnout implies a state of chronic, unmanaged stress that has fundamentally depleted your emotional, physical, and neurological reserves.
So taking a really good nap doesn't cure burnout.
No, it doesn't, because the engine itself has been damaged from running too hot for too long. If you're experiencing true burnout, a weekend of good sleep won't fix it. It requires active, deliberate intervention.
Active intervention, which is where terms like relaxation and meditation come into play. And I think intermediate learners sometimes misunderstand these words in an English context.
In what way?
Well, relaxation isn't just collapsing on the couch and doom scrolling on your phone. In the context of health recovery, it is an active process. It's doing something deliberately to lower your cortisol levels.
Yes, that's exactly it. Just as you go to the gym to actively build physical muscle, you have to actively rebuild the mind.
Right.
Meditation, sitting quietly, intentionally clearing the mental clutter and focusing on breath, is the mental equivalent of the physical cool down after a heavy workout.
Knowing that distinction is huge. Being able to articulate to a manager or a doctor, I am not just tired, I am experiencing burnout, changes the entire response. It shifts the conversation from try to get some sleep to we need to fundamentally change how you are operating.
Because it dictates the treatment.
Okay, here is where it gets really interesting. We have decoded the mechanical logic of physical pain. We've successfully navigated the clinic without tampering with the doctor's evidence. We've tracked our calories like accountants and diagnosed our thermodynamic burnout.
We've covered a lot.
We have. But to truly master this language, we need to bridge the gap between textbook accuracy and native fluency. We need to look at idioms.
Idioms. They are the cultural shorthand of the language. They don't translate literally word for word, but they convey a massive amount of social and cultural meaning.
I always tell language learners that idioms are like the spices in a meal.
I like that.
You don't strictly need them to survive. You can just bluntly tell someone, I am currently sick, and they will absolutely understand you. But throwing in a well-placed idiom makes your English sound so much more natural, flavorful, and integrated into the culture.
And the health-related idioms in English are particularly vivid. Take the phrase, under the weather.
Oh, yeah. I'm feeling a bit under the weather today, so I won't be coming to the tardy. It is such a polite, gentle way to say you are sick.
It really is.
It excuses you from social obligations without forcing you to describe your terrible gastrointestinal distress to your coworkers.
It acts as a polite social buffer. Then, on the other side of the sickness, we have the phrase back on your feet, meaning you've recovered from your illness and are functional and independent again.
But my absolute favorite, the one I find completely hilarious every time I hear it, is as fit as a fiddle.
That's a classic.
We use it to describe someone who is in peak physical condition. He runs marathons every month. He's as fit as a fiddle.
Huh?
Why on earth do we compare a muscular, incredibly healthy human being to an antique wooden instrument?
I know, it does sound a bit absurd to a modern listener, but remember that a fiddle is simply a violin. Centuries ago, stringed instruments were considered the absolute pinnacle of fine-tuning and precision engineering.
Oh, interesting.
If a violin isn't kept in perfect environmental conditions, if the string tension isn't exact, it sounds horrific.
Oh, so it's not about the physical shape of the violin at all. It's about the tuning.
Exactly. To be fit as a fiddle means your body is finely tuned, perfectly maintained, and in optimal working order.
That ties everything together beautifully. These three idioms perfectly map to the exact journey of recovery we just explored today. Think about it. You start the story under the weather. That is section 1, dealing with the sore throat, the dizziness, and the headache.
Then you navigate the doctor's office, you get your prescription, you rest, and you get back on your feet.
And finally, through the proactive maintenance, the cardio, the balanced diet, the hydration, and actively managing your mental burnout, you achieve the ultimate goal. You become finely tuned. You are as fit as a fiddle.
The complete cycle.
It is the complete epic narrative arc of human health, told entirely through 3 simple idioms.
That is an excellent synthesis. And to cement that synthesis, there is a very practical exercise native speakers often use to build habits, which works perfectly for language learners trying to internalize vocabulary. It's a 4-sentence learning challenge.
Yes, if you are listening to this right now, wherever you are, this is your moment of active recall. I'm going to read 4 templates. I want you to mentally fill in the blanks with your own real-world habits. Ready?
Let's do it.
Sentence 1. I exercise number times a week.
Okay.
Sentence 2. My favorite type of exercise is activity.
Got it.
Sentence 3. I try to eat a healthy diet by action.
All right.
And sentence 4. When I feel stressed, I action to relax.
So if I were to answer, it would sound like this. I exercise 3 times a week. My favorite type of exercise is swimming. I try to eat a healthy diet by prioritizing lean protein. When I feel stressed, I listen to classical music to relax.
Beautiful, simple, clear, and incredibly functional. It takes all the abstract concepts we've discussed today and anchors them directly to your personal daily routine.
It bridges the gap between theory and practice.
We have covered a massive amount of ground today. We uncovered the mechanical, anatomical difference between an ache and a sore throat. We learned how to avoid tampering with the doctor's medical crime scene by offering actionable symptoms instead of making up our own self-diagnoses.
We really did.
We explored the modern cultural obsession with tracking our hydration and counting calories. We validated the thermodynamic reality of burnout, and we tracked the ultimate narrative arc from being under the weather to as fit as a fiddle.
It is a comprehensive toolkit for anyone looking to navigate health in an English-speaking environment. But I want to leave you with one final, broader concept to consider.
What's that?
We spent this time analyzing how specific vocabulary helps us describe our physical reality to others. But in linguistics, there is a famous concept known as the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis.
The idea that the language we speak actually shapes the way we perceive the world around us.
Exactly. So apply that hypothesis to everything we've unpacked today. Does knowing the precise, nuanced words for concepts like hydration or burnout actually force us to pay better attention to our own bodies?
Oh, wow.
If you don't possess the specific vocabulary for burnout, are you more likely to just ignore the warning signs and push yourself until you collapse?
That is a staggering thought. If the words we use create our reality, then learning health and fitness vocabulary in a new language isn't just about passing an English proficiency test or sounding smart at a clinic. It could literally make you a more physically and mentally aware person.
Knowing the right words might actually be the very first step in healing.
Learning English could quite literally be good for your health. So the next time you find yourself far from home and the room starts spinning and your throat feels like it's on fire, don't panic. Take a deep breath. You aren't lacking the words anymore. You know exactly what to do.